How you guys doing? This is Mike from 603 MTech and Mobile Service. Today we have a W204 in for a steering lock issue. The steering lock is not working, causing the car not to start. So we're going to show you the symptoms. So what happens is when you put the key in the ignition and you go to start it, nothing happens. We've already diagnosed it, coming back with a steering lock malfunction code. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace the steering lock. So here's the steering lock. This is the new one that's going to be going in. We're going to have to take the steering column out due to the steering lock being locked. We won't be able to remove it in the car. Here's also the program key that comes with it to program it after the installation is complete. And here's some of the tools that you will need, all assortments of extensions and e-torques. So before we start this process, we're going to want to push the steering column all the way in and all the way up. So now what we're going to do is remove the negative terminal on the battery. I'm going to start by removing this air box. We're going to remove the negative terminal. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take a T30 and we're going to remove the airbag. We're going to remove this T30 on this side. Now we're going to disconnect the connectors for the airbag. Now the airbag is out. Now that the airbag is out, we're going to remove the steering wheel. We're going to use a 10mm hex to loosen it. And now we're going to pay attention to the position of the steering wheel. If you can see, there's a line in the notch. So this is to the left of the top notch. I'm going to remove the steering wheel and we have to remember this position. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move the steering column. Just pulls off like that. Then there's going to be a connector on this end. So we're going to be taking off this black plastic piece. We want to make sure the clock spring does not spin. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to take a plastic wedge and we're going to remove plastic piece. Yeah, of course, right there. It's going to slide right out. Just like that. Now we're going to remove this plastic trim piece. Now what we're going to do is remove the underbody panel from underneath, held in with 3 screws. We also have a Phillips head holding the hood release. Now we're also going to unclip the OBD connector by pulling back and pulling it out. We're also going to disconnect the light, and the underbody panel's out. So here are the 3 screws that you need to remove from the underbody panel, and the 1 screw for the hood release. Okay, now that we have the underbody panel removed, I'm actually going to tape this so it doesn't spin once I disconnect it from the shaft. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually remove this bolt to the steering shaft. Now that the bolt is out, we're going to slide the shaft off. So now what we're going to do is remove the connector to the motor. There will be two. Another one back there. Right there. And now the last thing we'll do is disconnect the connector to the steering lock, which is back here. Now we're going to remove the connector to the brake lamp switch. We're going to remove this bracket. Unclips. I'm going to sneak this out. So now the next step is we're actually going to remove the steering column. There's 4 bolts holding it. There's 2 up front here. There's 2 back underneath. We'll start with the ones up here, just because it's easy to get to. Now that those 2 are done, we'll get the bottom ones. Now that the steering column's loose, you also don't want to mix up the bolts. The rear ones are a lot longer than the front ones. These are E12s, by the way. What you're going to do is you're going to snake it all the way back. So for more room, we're actually going to remove the accelerator pedal. The bottom like that. There you have it. There's your old steering lock. We're going to loosen this and I'll show you how you get a locked steering lock out. So now what we're going to do is remove the 13 millimeter. So now most of the time when the lock is locked, you can't push this in. So you cannot take the lock out. I've seen some people cut it apart. What I use is an air hammer. There you have it. The old steering lock is out. Now we're going to insert the new one. Not on. We're going to tighten this. There you have it. So now we've got the whole steering lock assembly all installed. We're going to install it in reverse order. Put the screws back in. Like I said, don't mix these up. These are for the rear, and these are for the front. I'm actually going to start with the rear. I believe it's easier. Now that the steering column's in, just make sure you torque everything to spec. We're going to also clip in all the connectors for the motors for the steering column, and also the connector for the steering lock. Next step is to connect the steering shaft and bolt it down. Then after, we're also going to install the accelerator pedal. I'm going to put back our bracket for the brake light switch. we're gonna install the underbody panel. Make sure to clip in the lights. Now we're gonna screw in the hood release. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna install the steering column module. I'm gonna put this plastic trim back. We're gonna remove the tape. Now we're gonna install the steering column module. It goes on kind of tricky. Now we're going to slide it on, just like that. Now we're going to put back on the instrument cluster panel. Just like that. Now the last step would be installing the steering wheel. Remember at the beginning of the video, we were to the left of the line. Now what we're going to want to do is replace this nut. This is a one-time use. I'm going to screw it in and we're going to torque the spec. Now we're going to connect the airbag. So now what we're going to do is connect the battery. So now that we installed the new steering lock, the battery is connected. We want to make sure that we have a full functioning battery. And then we're going to put the program key in. We're going to wait until that red light goes out. Now that the car's out, you're going to hear the steering lock engage. Put the key in. Start it one more time. And there you guys have it. This is a steering lock replacement on a W204. Thanks for watching.